Hi, I'm Aiman, and welcome back to one of my auto repair videos. In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove and replace the rear strut or shock absorber for a 2006-2011 Honda Civic. This right here is a 2010. Now, they recommend you to replace both the rear struts, so we also have a video on the driver's side, so go check that out if you want to, but they should be the same process. So I guess, let's get right to it. Alright, so in order to save time, I'm going to jack the car up in the middle so that we can place the jack stands on both sides. We're also going to put bricks on each side. And we're going to jack it up in the middle by this little thing right here, this little C-shaped thing that's used for towing the car in the event that it gets stuck in a ditch, for example. All right. All right. Now we're going to place the jack stand. First on the passenger side, I guess. We also need to place a brick. Okay. And a brick. So that it doesn't roll forward. All right. We're going to lower it now. See that the car lurched forward a bit. It's a good thing that we put those bricks there. And now we should be good to go. First thing is to remove the tire. Obviously, if you don't have an impact driver like we do, take the tire off while it's on the ground, or loosen it while it's on the ground, and then take it off. There we go. All right. Let's set these aside for now. Make sure you don't lose them. And there, the passenger side behind the wheel is revealed. Right here is the rear strut that we're replacing. All right, before we proceed, just keep in mind that for the rear strut, the way it's held in is by way of 1 bolt at the bottom and 1 bolt, or actually a nut, at the top. However, at the bottom, it only has a bolt fixing it in. If you look closely, you see that what we call the nut for the bottom is actually built in. The thread is actually built in right here. So I've seen people before, when they try to take out the bolt, that they actually end up snapping it right here because the car is so old. So when you're trying to take out the bolt, just try to put some PB blaster on it. Come back a few minutes later, put some more until you're sure that you can take it out. They actually recommend that when you replace the rear strut, that you also replace the bolt. Because if you try to put in the old bolt, especially after 100,000 or even 200,000 miles in our case, this bolt might, or most probably, will snap. So keep that in mind. The next step is to take off some things in the trunk. So first we're going to lift the mat right here. We can't remove it, but we're just going to lift it for now. And what we're going to do next is we're going to pry this back section off right here. And I'm not sure if you have to do this, but for the sake of the video, we're going to do it might as well. So with a bit of strength, you can see that you only need to remove these 4 fasteners right here. So it just takes a bit of pulling. Even a child like me can do it. I'm going to put that down here for now. And let's take a look at what we're dealing with. So to remove to get to the strut, what we're going to do is we're going to remove this side panel. So let me explain. There are 4 fasteners that we have to deal with. So on the passenger side, there's 1 closer to the outside of the trunk, 1 closer to the side, 1 up here, and 1 under the mat, which is right here. And you have to use a pry bar like this to take it out. These other ones have screwdrivers on them, flatheads on them. I'm not sure if you have to do this, but for the sake of the video, we're going to flip down the back seat not only so that we can remove the mat, but also so that if we want to get some videos from the inside of the car, we'll be able to access it. So I think what we have to do is we have to pull these. As you can see, they have something that looks like you're flipping a seat. And I'm guessing that when we go in here, hey, all right. So what happens is that you can actually just pull it down. And I'm not sure how that's gonna work with the seat belts, but I think that should be all right. All right, so like I said before, you don't have to do this, but in order to remove the mat, you get some leverage under each side and just pull. All right, so what we're dealing with is two fasteners, really tiny actually, and they go in these two holes. And what we can do next is, well, take it out from the other side. Like I said before, you don't have to do this. All right, just for the sake of the video, let's take it out. Now we can get a clear view of what we're dealing with. In order to open the right side, the passenger side, it's the same procedure. Just take a flat head and take it out. Don't worry if the fastener breaks, like I said. You just can replace it with a ton of easy to get fasteners. Take the other two out. If it doesn't come out, just use a pry bar to take it out. That was weird. I'll just get this one out while we're here. And it looks like neither of these will come out using the screw, so we're just going to try it out. There we go. Taking out the passenger side is the same as the driver's side. Just take out these 3 screws. Don't worry if the fasteners break, you can always replace them. And now the last one is a pry. Whoa, that just launched out of there. Now, next step is just to take it from here and just try to finagle it to the back. And then just try to keep that there. Alright, now we can access the passenger side to see what it looks like. Next step is to put a jack under the suspension just to support it. If you want more detail, go on the driver's side video for more detail. That was redundant, but the next step is we're going to take a 5mm hex socket. We're going to put it in the top right. Oh wait, hold on. This thing we do. We're actually going to loosen this nut right here. So just okay. So if you can't just loosen it like this, and actually that's a good example. Let me put this right here. The reason that we have this hex socket right here is that when we try to loosen it, the whole thing spins. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold that in place while we loosen it. And after that, we're going to use a ratchet. Just a warning, if you don't have a ratcheting wrench, this process is going to take you probably more than 10 minutes. For just using a ratchet wrench, it probably took me like 2 to 3 minutes. So this is a warning. It's a reminder if you saw my previous video. That was terrible. Hold on, let me just make sure this is the right direction. Right. We got that on, and you're gonna see how bad this is, okay? You're gonna be here with me. So just imagine this, but like times 20. It's painful. Alright, so since the sky seems to be getting a bit darker, we're going to be changing the procedure up a bit. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do first, and then I'm going to demonstrate it. So that way, if demonstrating it takes a bit while, then we can cut down on the time. So what we're doing is, now that we have the top bolt loosened, top nut loosened, we're going to loosen the bottom bolt using a breaker bar. It's a number 14, it's a 14 millimeter. Use an extension, and we're going to take a breaker bar and fix it on to this bolt right here. All right, let's demonstrate it. This one's a bit harder because we're going to have to push upwards. All right, it's not that tight actually. So now that it's looser, what we can do is take a ratchet wrench and loosen it. So we decided to use power tools to make it faster. Now that it stopped spinning, you can tell that the bolt has fallen out of the threading. Now, I think I said this in the driver video, but this doesn't have a nut. It actually has threading built into the inside of this. So now that we have the bolt loosened, we should be able to just take it out. Like that. We're going to set that aside. We probably won't need this because we have a new bolt, and they recommend that you replace this bolt because it might be a bit worn. You may have noted that if you watched the driver side video, we actually kept the bottom bolt in, and then we took this out first and then took out the bottom bolt. But like I said in that video as well, the order is really up to you. So right now we're going to do it the other way. Alright, so now that it's stopped ratcheting, you can probably tell that it should be able to take out by hand. Take out this ring right here. Keep a note that the ridges face upwards, and also keep note of the position of the grommet so that the 4 dots, these bumps up here, are facing the top. You'll see why when we put it back. Now we're going to try to remove it. So we're going to compress it, and then we're going to finagle it out. Let's do it. There we go. Easy as pie. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, that is crusty. Yikes. Okay, that is bad. That needs to be replaced. So let's get the other suspension. Alright, just to keep this fast, we're going to talk about it while I unwrap this. But basically, these are the KYB XLG, that's the performance one, shock absorber. And these, you can get them for $35 to $50 each. You're lucky if you get the $35 or $70 altogether. But on average, they're $100 altogether on Amazon. Okay, so just for sake of comparison, if you want to find out more, I talk more about it in my other video on the driver's side. But just for sake of comparison, I mean, while we're here, and I also did this in the other video, but okay, let's see how fast it takes them. Just look at how terrible the suspension on the original is. Therefore, it is definitely evident that we need to replace it.